chosen one, let me ask you something that you may not have allowed yourself to ask out loud. What if you have been right all along? Not about everything, not in some inflated, self-important way, but about that specific, quiet, persistent sense that you carry, the one that says your life is supposed to mean something more than what it currently looks like. The one that has survived every season of doubt, every disappointment, every moment where logic told you to just be realistic and let the dream go. That knowing refused to leave. And I need you to understand something before we go any further. That was not stubbornness, that was not arrogance. That was something in you, something woven into the fabric of who you are, long before you had the words for it, that knows the truth, even when every circumstance around you is arguing otherwise. Here is what I also know. You have been living at a fraction of what you were built for. Not because you have not tried, not because you made the wrong choices, because something systematic, quiet, gradual, almost invisible has been working against the full expression of who you are since you were a child. And no one told you. Because it was not in anyone's interest to tell you. This message was not made for everyone. It carries a specific frequency. And the fact that you are here, in this moment, not by accident, means it found the one it was meant for. What I want to give you today is not motivation. Motivation fades. I want to give you the truth about what has actually been happening and what becomes possible the moment you finally understand it. Before we go deeper, I want to tell you what is waiting for you by the end of this, because you deserve to know what you are staying for. By the time we finish, you are going to understand the specific, scientific reason why this season of your life has felt exactly the way it has, not a vague spiritual explanation, a real and documented one. You are going to see a pattern that runs through every person in history who has ever carried what you carry, and it is going to reframe everything you thought the waiting meant, everything you thought the silence was saying about you. And there is something I want to share with you, a real, grounded, research-backed discovery that supports the kind of reactivation your whole being has been reaching toward without having the name for. This conversation is worth staying for, so stay with me. Let me take you somewhere first. Go back to when you were very young, 5, 6, maybe 7 years old. Think about how learning felt back then, quick, easy, almost exciting, like information was the most alive thing in the world. Think about how curious you were, how ideas seemed to arrive before you had to search for them, how certain things just made sense to you before anyone had explained them, like your mind was already running at a speed that the people around you had not quite caught up to yet. That was not your imagination. There was something genuinely different happening in you. A quality of mind, a sharpness of intuition, a way of processing the world that felt entirely natural because it was. And if you sit quietly enough right now, you can almost feel what that was like. The ease of it, the way knowing arrived without effort, the way you just understood things, and the understanding felt clean and whole. But then something shifted. It did not happen in one moment. That is what makes it so hard to trace. It happened the way winter comes, not with an announcement, just slowly, almost imperceptibly, until one day you realize the warmth you remember is gone, and you cannot say exactly when it left. The world around you, the systems you were placed inside, the voices that taught you what was realistic and what was not, they began to build a smaller version of you. A quieter one, a more manageable one. You learned that sensitivity was the same as weakness. You learned that knowing things the people around you did not notice was isolating rather than gifted. You learned that the specific, persistent sense of calling you carried was probably just pride, probably just wishfulness, probably something you needed to grow out of. And slowly, without fully realizing it, you began to agree. Think of a seed. A seed knows exactly what it is. It carries the full blueprint of the tree inside it, roots, trunk, branches, everything in a form so small you could hold it in your palm. But if the conditions become wrong, if the soil compresses, If the cold stays too long, if everything around the seed signals that nothing grows here, the germination slows, the knowing does not leave. It goes quiet, it waits. And from the outside, looking at that patch of ground, you would see nothing. You would see stillness and call it emptiness. That is what happened to you, not loss. Awaiting. And here is what I want you to notice right now, in this moment, as you hear those words. Notice the part of you that recognized what I just described. Notice that you did not need to be convinced it landed, because something in you already knew it was true. That recognition is the seed, still there, carrying the full blueprint, entirely intact, still waiting for the right conditions. Now I want to show you something more specific, because understanding that something was suppressed is only the beginning. What changes everything, what actually gives you a framework to work from, is understanding exactly what was suppressed, the mechanism, the name. Because when you can name what happened, you stop blaming yourself for the result. And when you stop carrying that blame, something in you begins to open again. Here is what the neuroscience world has been documenting for decades, and what almost no one in your situation has ever actually been told about. Your brain operates at different frequencies at different times. You have probably heard of alpha waves, the calm and relaxed state, and beta waves, the active thinking state. But there is a frequency above both of those, one that researchers have spent decades studying because of what it is connected to. It is called gamma, and gamma is extraordinary. It is the frequency of insight of the moment, when something clicks and you suddenly understand something that should have taken years to grasp. It is the frequency of deep intuition, of creative flow, of what scientists at MIT, Harvard, Stanford, and Princeton have described as the brain operating at its highest natural capacity. Children have gamma in abundance. When you were young, your brain was running at high gamma almost constantly. That is why learning felt effortless. That is why creativity was natural. That is why you knew things in that way you could feel before you could explain. That capacity, that God-given brainwave, was fully alive in you. And then researchers documented something they called the decline effect. Starting around age 7, gamma activity begins to drop. And the drop is not random, it is tied directly to the environments children are placed inside. Structured classrooms that reward compliance over curiosity. Social systems that train children to suppress the parts of themselves that do not fit the mold. A pace of modern life that never allows the brain to settle long enough to reach its highest frequencies naturally. The modern world is not malicious, but a world built for conformity will always, gradually and quietly, dampen the frequency of someone who was built for something else. That frequency, your frequency, went dormant, not gone. Dormant. The way a seed goes dormant in winter soil, the blueprint completely intact, waiting for the conditions that allow it to come back online. Every experience you have had of being out of sync with the people around you, of perceiving things they did not notice, of feeling things at a depth that made you seem like too much, of knowing something that you could not explain and had to keep to yourself, that was not a malfunction. That was your gamma, still reaching for the surface through conditions that were working against it. Those sudden flashes of clarity, the solutions that arrive fully formed, the synchronicities that feel too precise to be coincidental, those are not accidents, those are you, breaking through. Now, I want to share something with you. Something I came across when I was asking the exact same question you are probably asking right now. If gamma went dormant, can it come back? The answer is yes. And the way it happens is more accessible than almost anyone realizes. A neuroscientist named Dr. Robert Lake spent 34 years studying brain entrainment, the use of specific audio frequencies to guide the brain back into its natural optimal state. Drawing on research from MIT, Harvard, Stanford, Princeton, Columbia, and institutions across Europe, he developed something that takes just 7 minutes a day. You put on headphones, you sit or lie down, You close your eyes and let the technology do what it was designed to do, not by creating something new in you, but by reintroducing the conditions in which what was always in you can begin to surface again. It is called the Genius Song. And I want to be clear with you about what this is and what it is not. This is not a miracle, it is a tool. Think of it the way you would think of glasses. Glasses do not create vision. They support what your eyes were already designed to do, in conditions that have made it harder. This audio track does not create your gamma. It supports the environment in which your gamma, which was never truly lost, can begin to come back online. More than 18,000 people have quietly used it. The response has been consistent, not dramatic, overnight transformation, but a gradual return of sharpness, of intuition, of that quality of aliveness that you remember feeling when you were young and the world still felt full of possibility. To access this kind of brain frequency support in a clinical setting, you would need biofeedback therapy at around $300 per session, or a home biofeedback device, which costs close to $7,000. Dr. Lake's goal was to make this available to the people who actually need it, not just those who can afford those options. The original price of the Genius Song is $49. For the people receiving this specific message, which is you, it is available at $39. That price does not exist anywhere else, not on Amazon, not on any streaming platform, not through any third-party seller. It arrives to you digitally, delivered immediately to your email, along with 4 tools included, at no extra cost. 1 is an audio track designed specifically for children to support their gamma before the decline effect has the chance to take hold. 1 is the original book that the film The Secret drew its inspiration from, the actual financial wisdom text behind it, valued at $20 and yours free. There is also a guided visualization covering the 4 areas most people most want to shift: love, money, health, and inner peace, and a printed reference of the 5 most important daily habits for the life you are building toward. Everything is covered by a complete money-back guarantee. No time limit, no questions required. If you go through this and feel that nothing has shifted, you receive every dollar back. One final thing I need to say about this: there are sites and sellers using the name Genius Song that are not the original product. They do not have the brain entrainment frequency properly embedded. They are standard audio files with no calibration, and they will not do what the real technology does. The only source for the authentic product, with the correct frequencies, the 4 bonuses, and the full guarantee, is the link I have placed in the description and the pinned comment of this message. Please do not search for it anywhere else. That link is the only one I can vouch for. For anyone who feels called to explore it, it is there when you are ready. And now, come back with me, because we are only halfway through what this moment was arranged to show you. What comes next is the most important thing I have to say, and I promise it is worth staying for. There is a pattern that runs through every person who has ever carried what you carry. I want you to see it clearly, because once you do, the last several years of your life are going to look completely different. Think about Joseph, not as a religious story, but as a human one. A young man who knew in the same quiet, persistent way you know that he was built for something significant. And what came next was not what you would write if you were scripting his life. It was betrayal by the people closest to him. It was years in conditions that, from the outside, looked like pure failure, a pit, a prison, doors closing one after another. And if you had watched his life during those years without knowing how the story ended, you would never have guessed what was being formed on the inside. You would have looked at the circumstances and called it abandonment. You would have been completely wrong about what was actually happening. The hiddenness was not punishment. The hiddenness was preparation. Think about Esther, hidden in a household, invisible to the people who would one day need what she carried. going through seasons that must have felt entirely disconnected from any sense of calling or purpose, waiting in obscurity, shaped by years that seemed to lead nowhere, until at exactly the right moment, in exactly the right position, having been formed by exactly those invisible seasons, she was there, and what she had become in private was precisely what that moment required. Not what she was before the private season, who she became during it. This is not coincidence, this is pattern. The ones who were prepared to carry the most have always been prepared in private, not in classrooms, not in front of audiences, not in the seasons where growth was visible and everyone could see the progress, in private. In the seasons of obscurity and delay and what looked, from the outside, like nothing. You have been in a private season, and I know that from the inside, a private season does not feel like preparation. It feels like absence. It feels like being passed over while everyone else moves forward. It feels like standing in a room where no one sees you, holding something you cannot even fully name, wondering if you imagined the whole thing. You did not imagine it. You are in the most significant training ground that exists. Now let me tell you what was being built in you during the seasons that hurt the most. I want you to hear this not as a comfort, but as a fact. The version of you that needed external validation before you could move forward, that was stripped. The version that believed you had to make yourself smaller to earn belonging, stripped. The story that said the delay was the verdict, stripped. Every false layer, everything that was never truly you, everything that would have collapsed under the weight of what is coming, removed. Like a sculptor taking away everything that is not the final form, the hard seasons did not take anything from you that was actually yours to keep. What they removed was everything that would have been in the way. And what remains is lighter, more precise, more true. The seed that survives winter is not the same seed that was buried. It is more itself. The compression, the cold, the long dark, those are not neutral experiences that the seed endures despite itself. Those are the exact conditions that make the germination possible. The tree does not form after the burial. The tree forms during it, every day, underground, in conditions that look like stillness from the outside. The roots are going deeper, the structure is forming. The capacity is being built that will allow everything above the surface to eventually hold. You are not behind, you are in the process, and there is a difference between those two things that changes everything. But before I go any further, I need to name something. There is a belief that may be doing something in you right now, quietly, as I speak. It is subtle, it is powerful, and it is the one thing most likely to keep you from fully receiving what this moment is offering. It is the belief that the good is real for other people, but not quite for you. That you will get close and something will fall through. That everyone else can receive what is being described here, but for some reason you cannot name. Your case is different. Your case is the exception. That belief was not born in weakness. It was born in self-protection. After enough seasons of hoping without seeing results, the mind builds a buffer. It calls that buffer realism. It is not realism, it is armor. Armor that once kept you safe and now keeps you at a distance from the very thing you have been waiting for. So right now, wherever you are, I want you to feel where that belief lives, not with your hands, with your attention. Just notice the place in you that quietly says, but not me. Notice it without fighting it. And then underneath it, underneath that armor, notice the part of you that has never fully agreed, the part that is still here, still listening, still holding on. That is the part I am speaking to. And here is the truth that everything we have covered together has been building toward. The private season was not a detour from your calling. The private season was your calling, in its most essential form. Let me say that again, slowly, because it is worth letting it land. You were not waiting to become who you were called to be. You were becoming them. The entire time, every single day of the silence, every moment of the waiting, every season that looked like emptiness you were becoming. The delay was not the obstacle before the purpose. The delay was the purpose. The becoming is the assignment. And what you have been living through faithfully, without quitting, even when it cost you, is not the preamble to your story. It is the story. Every wisdom tradition across human history carries some version of this pattern. Joseph, Esther, the seed in the ground. The tree that went 20 years underground before it broke the surface. The pattern is not metaphor, it is the actual mechanism by which extraordinary things come into existence. Nothing of weight is built quickly. Nothing designed to carry the load of a real calling is formed in easy conditions. You were being formed for a specific weight, and the formation required exactly what you endured. Now, I want to speak to who you are. Not who you are working toward. Not who you hope to be someday. Who you already are, right now, in this moment, before one single external thing has changed. There is a part of you that perceives things before you can explain them. That senses what is happening underneath the surface of a situation while everyone else is still reading the surface. That picks up on patterns others walk right past. That feels shifts in the atmosphere of a room before anything visible has changed. That quality is the seer in you. It was not an accident of personality. It was not a sensitivity you need to manage or apologize for. The seer in you was built to notice what others walk past, because the world needs someone who can see what is actually there. There is a part of you that carries truth that needs to be spoken. Thoughts, insights, words that you have held back and kept quiet and shrunk down because you were not sure you had the right, or because the timing never felt certain, or because you were waiting for something that never fully arrived. That is the voice in you. And there are people in your specific orbit, people who cannot get where they are going without what you carry, who are waiting for you to stop waiting for permission to say it. There is a part of you that changes the atmosphere simply by entering it. A quality of presence that brings steadiness into anxiety, clarity into confusion, and something that is difficult to name but entirely real, the sense that things are a little more okay when you are in the room. You have been doing this your whole life without having language for it. That is the light bearer in you. And it is not something you do. It is something you are. And there is a part of you that is willing to go somewhere new, to move toward things that the people around you have not yet imagined, to walk first into territory that has not yet made space for what you carry, knowing that the space will form as you step into it. That willingness, that specific, quiet courage to go first, is the pioneer in you. It has always been there. Even in the seasons when you doubted everything else, you still moved, still showed up, still did not fully stop. That was not stubbornness, that was the pioneer, doing exactly what it was built to do. These are not things you need to earn, they are not aspirations. They are what you are right now, today, in the middle of the season, before the breakthrough is visible, before any external confirmation has arrived. You do not claim these because I told you to. You claim them because somewhere in you, in the part that has been holding on through every season of doubt, you already know they are true. If that is landing for you, if something in you is recognizing itself, in those words, I want you to do something simple. Type the word seed in the comments. That one word is your declaration. It is your way of saying, I know what I am. I know what is in me. I know the season I am in is not the sentence. It is the preparation. Type seed. And let that be the first act of receiving what this moment was arranged to give you. And now, let us close this together. Not with more information, with something that goes deeper than information. Wherever you are right now, sitting, lying down, moving through your day, I want you to bring a part of your attention inward. You do not have to stop what you are doing. You do not have to be still in your body. Just bring your awareness home, to the quiet space inside you that has been present through this entire conversation. I want to begin with gratitude. For you, for the fact that you showed up for something that mattered. For every act of faithfulness in a season that gave you nothing visible in return. For the knowing that you kept alive, even when keeping it alive cost something. For the way you have carried what you carry, in the quiet, without an audience, without confirmation, because something in you simply could not let it go. That faithfulness was not invisible. Not to the intelligence behind all things. It was seen, every moment of it. You are seen now. Every weight you have carried in private, seen. Every question you held in the dark without receiving an answer, seen. Every night you went to sleep, still holding something you could not yet name, seen. Completely. Without exception. And now, with the full weight of everything we have walked through together, I speak release over the old story. The one that called the delay a verdict. Gone. I speak release over the belief that the good is for everyone else. Gone. I speak release over every version of you that was built for surviving a hard season and is no longer needed for what comes next. Gone. I speak release over every timeline that was never yours, every comparison, every glance sideways at what others have and what that supposedly means about you. Gone. I speak release over the armor, the unworthiness that learned to call itself wisdom, the reflex that keeps the good at arm's length just before it arrives. Gone. I speak release over every winter you carried, alone, in the dark, without a witness. You carried it faithfully. You can lay it down. And now I call forth what is already in you, the seer fully awake, the voice fully released, the light-bearer fully alive, the pioneer fully in motion. I call in the right connections, arriving in the right timing, without you having to force or manufacture them. The doors that disbelief held shut open, the relationships aligned with where you are going, drawing near, the provision that matches the purpose that is already in you, finding its way. What was prepared for this season be received. Not reached for, received. I cover this rising, against premature exposure covered, against self-sabotage at the moment of breakthrough covered, against the old patterns that reach back for familiar ground when the new ground starts to feel real covered. What has been lifted in this moment? Let nothing pull it back to where it was. And now, not from performance, not from wishfulness, but from the deepest place of knowing, I am not behind. I am becoming. I was not forgotten. I was being formed. I do not carry my calling. My calling carries me. I am the seer. I am the voice. I am the light bearer. I am the pioneer. And I receive it. Not because I earned it. Because I was built for it. It is done. It is sealed. We receive it. And so it is. If you are still here, and I trusted that you would be, thank you. Not for watching. For being the kind of person who shows up for things that matter, even when the outcome is uncertain, even when the evidence is still underground. Type seed in the comments. That one word is enough. It is your declaration, your anchor, and the beginning of something that has already been in motion longer than you know. If someone came to mind during this message, someone in their own winter, someone holding on but running low, consider sharing this with them. They may need to know that the seed they are carrying has not died. It has just been going deeper. The link for the Genius song is in the description and in the pinned comment for anyone who feels called to that next step on the journey. Go carry what you carry. You were built for it.